They would rather play victim in the public eye and go, look, we have no water. Well, hold on a second. What about that water? You don't know. Wait, well, look, our people have no fuel. Well, what about those 500,000 liters there? The Jews lie. All right, let's go to Gaza.
Let's go to Gaza. Speaking of Kung Fu.
Dude, where's my fuel, they say.
Oh.
So if you've watched the mainstream media, you probably have heard, and this is something out there, this is the claim that Israel is keeping Gazans from obtaining any kind of fuel, that they don't have any fuel. You've heard this throughout the media. They just were talking about it on CNN.
Shutting down hospitals because of it.
Yes.
The power is flickering and fading at hospitals in Gaza, as medical officials say generators are on their last drops of fuel. The health system run by Hamas is in a state of collapse.
And you can just hit this as a collage right there. The UN is reporting that fuel supplies are running out of hospitals. There's no fuel being trucked in from aid convoys to Gaza. Okay, here's the truth. Hamas, actually, the people who, by the way, who were elected by the folks of Palestine, and by the way, the majority of Palestinians to this day have a favorable view of Hamas, which is unfortunate. They have plenty of fuel. So before I get, just so you know it's true, when we make all of the references available, Reuters, and they really hate the Jews, Reuters even reported the story with this headline: Israel's military tells UN in Gaza, ask Hamas for fuel. Meaning they're claiming that, well, Reuters, isn't it your job to verify? Aren't you fact checkers? It's surprising that Reuters would even mention this, considering their history with, they hate the Jews. So 2010, Reuters even, remember the flotilla picture? Yeah. They edited out a knife being used by a Turkish activist against an Israeli soldier. This is when the flotilla was going on. This was, I think it was 2000. There was another conflict. Bring that back up.
Yeah, bring.
See that knife right there? That man is being held at knife point. What you see is what is edited out in the Reuters headline in 2010, just to give you an idea as to how biased it was.
Wow.
So they cut it out so you don't see the knife.
That's kind of the important part of the picture.
It's amazing to me that somehow when we know that the Hamas came in and killed entire families in their pajamas and much worse.
Right.
We have video of it because, they were videoing it. And somehow we have to whitewash the fact that they're not that bad.
No. Well, they've been doing
they would never use a knife or keep fuel from their
That's
citizens.
2010.
Yeah.
And today they're going, well, Israel claims. Okay, but hold on a second. Would there be some kind of a way to verify? And I get it. People are saying that there's an incentive for misinformation on both sides. That is true. But some things can be verified.
Yeah. Do you have reporters on the ground? I don't know. Isn't this the job of the media, is to go, hey, a hospital was bombed. Wow, that's terrible. Let's go look at it and see if we can report on it so the world can be outraged and put pressure. Instead, they're just like, yeah, Hamas said it. We'll take their word for it.
Yeah.
And by the way, if there is a shortage of humanitarian aid, fuel, all these different things, why is Egypt keeping that from them? I want to turn this a little bit because it's not just Israel. Like, why is Egypt?
Well, let me get to the truth. So the truth is that the reason they said ask Hamas, the IDF, is because there are photographs. Now I get these are from the IDF, but let me come back to this. They show that Hamas is hoarding over 500,000 liters of fuel.
Oh, whoa!
So they're stealing, by the way, humanitarian fuel. I think we even have a clip from CNN.
Fuel, unfortunately, is essential for the Hamas military machine. They need it for their rockets. They need it for their underground terror network of tunnels. And we understand that. And we had a documented case last week where fuel, I think 6 tankers, CNN reported, went in through the Rafah crossing with Egypt. And then that fuel, a large proportion of it, and it was said, of course, the fuel's going to generators in hospitals to help save lives. And yet Hamas, at gunpoint, stole a large proportion of that fuel, and we presume it was diverted to their military machine.
Now I
Crazy talk.
I get what some of you say. IDF, you can't trust them. Okay, but they put out a tweet showing aerial footage of the fuel reserves. Okay, and this is a tweet where it says this is what more than 500,000 liters of diesel in Hamas's possession appears. Ellipses, which continues to make its claim of its inability to supply hospitals, bakeries, and civilians with fuel. Residents of Gaza do not make any demands on Israel. You basically should ask Hamas, right? And here's the thing. This is not new, keep in mind, and we'll talk about this tomorrow. In Palestine, they have the abilities right now, internationally paid for, to at least double, very likely triple their water capacity. Paid for by international governments and agreements, by the way, desalination plants, places to set up pipes. But the last time they were given these supplies, they used the pipes to turn them into rockets and to bombs. Hamas did that.
Yeah.
So to blame your enemy of war for not giving you water and fuel, which to me is absolutely insane.
I mean,
we're going to discuss that tomorrow in depth. That is a long-standing myth that people buy hook, line. It's not even close to true. Right now, there would be no water issue.
Yeah.
There would be no water shortage for the people of Palestine if not for Hamas. And just to be clear, we've been in contact with some people at the IDF who've sent us specifically some footage. Now it's publicly on YouTube. They've offered to speak with us on record. But I want to be clear. I would love to have someone from Hamas, from some Palestinian representative organization, an ambassador. I would love to have them on immediately after a senior member of the IDF tomorrow, this week. You can send in your information to lwctips@protonmail.com. We'd love to have you on and provide the opportunity to correct the record. Now, not what happens with Piers Morgan, where they just go on there and they say, oh, really? Why do you believe Israel? They lie. They lie. They lie. They lie. Well, tell us how it's a lie. Give us some. Right now, if that footage is dishonest from the IDF, there are people out there who can dissect this, who can say it's AI. They know they can spot deep fakes before it reaches your screen. No one's actually disputing the authenticity. The only ambassadors who I have seen from the Palestinian people, representatives, Hamas, basically, have just said, it's not true. Why do you believe the Jews? Well, hold on a second. First off, we can play, why should we trust you? And refute the evidence. I haven't seen anyone do it. I've seen people say, we know that it is the Jews who bombed the hospital. Well, there's been a ton of evidence provided from the international.
From Al Jazeera, by the way.
Yes, from the international community.
Yeah.
International intelligence, also crowdsourced international intelligence. I haven't seen anything to say that it was Israel. The only people who make that argument are the people who are Team Hamas, Team Palestine, no matter what. And send it to me. Send me what we're missing.
What's being left out here, they just found there were 2 hostages taken, a 12-year-old autistic girl and her grandmother. They were found dead, by the way. They were murdered today. So let's leave all those atrocities aside. Why are we not talking about the fact that this operation that Hamas pulled off took 2 years to plan? It took 2 years to plan. They had a network of phone communication in those tunnels. So they have been at war with Israel actively for 2 years. October 7th was just the final culmination and the execution of that. That took crazy amounts of planning. And their job was to come in and wreak as much havoc against the civilian population, which they did.
Right.
So
and they're wreaking it against their own civilians right now. They would rather play victim in the public eye and go, look, we have no water. Well, hold on a second. What about that water? You don't know. Wait, well, look, our people have no fuel. Well, what about those 500,000 liters there? The Jews lie.
They lie every day. No, and
that's all.
That's
literally the equivalent of saying, well, you are one too.
The Jews lie. I know Jews are, but what am I?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. No, and that's the point.
I am rubber, you are Jew.
that almost works. I wanted to touch on that because that's their playbook, right? So it's not just what they're saying, it's what they're physically doing. Hamas would rather have hospitals run out of fuel so that they could have a photo op and they could have a story run in the media than actually take care of their own citizens. We know this. They've used kids as human shields. They've used playgrounds and schools as places to launch rockets from, next to mosques and churches.
Yeah.
They absolutely 100% do this. And then they did finally, thank goodness, Egypt allowed 3 convoys into Gaza for aid. I don't know how much of that aid is actually going to make it to the people because right now Hamas just wants the world to think they're being starved. They have no water and they have no fuel, so the hospitals are having to
They run it. They are malicious.
They're doing it to themselves. They're doing it to their population.
Yes. And by the way,
rise up.
Look, exactly. It's not lost on me that if you're born right in Gaza and you're raised with this, you're going to hate the Jews because everything is blamed on the. I understand it, and I understand that it's not the fault of those children. I get that. I understand that those conditions are horrible. I understand that. But let me ask you this. Do you honestly think that in a time of war, it's the job of your military to provide aid and comforts to your opponent? Let's just be real. Do you know what war is? Even if you absolutely hate Israel, fine. Why is it incumbent upon them to provide water and to provide gasoline? Seriously. War is meant to be as unpleasant. It's like prison. It should be as unpleasant as humanly possible. You're meant to be defeated. In prison, you're meant to be punished. Not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying that Israel isn't hard, absolutely just rougher than sometimes maybe you might think they need to be. But it is war. I don't know. Maybe that's me, Mr. Traditional. I don't understand why you would go to war with someone and not try and absolutely decimate.
I also think that people are underestimating the fact that if you really got Palestinians alone, individually, I bet you'd find a lot of them saying, I'd love to get rid of Hamas. I'd love to, because people who are defending Hamas should have to live under Hamas. Right. I wonder what that's like when you're the average Palestinian just trying to get your kids to school. That's got to be not so much of a picnic, because they control literally everything, and they steal everything, and they'll give you what they'll give you.
Well, this is what evil people do, right? And we have this board here where you see Andrew Breitbart. He talked about Alinsky. So Alinsky 101. It's accuse the other side of that exactly which it is that you're doing. And that's what they do. They go, look, they're bombing hospitals. No, you're bombing hospitals. Look, they killed civilians. No, you targeted civilians. It's the Amber Heard defense. Look, I was abused. No, you were physically abusive. It's the feminist defense. Oh, my gosh, I can't believe, look at how unfair. No, hold on a second. You're using a system that is unfair and you are abusing men. This is what we see all the time. We see it all the time, by the way, with child abuse right now with the trans issue, right? You have these trans activists who say, hey, we want to put a kid on puberty blockers and give them access to sex changes. And the parents who say no, they say, you're child abusers. Yep. Take the children away. No. You're abusing children. No. Amber Heard, you abused Johnny Depp. No. Hamas, you are the ones violating your own human rights. So they blame you of doing exactly what it is that they do. Do not underestimate the art of projection from these people. Evil people rarely come out and just say, yeah, I'm starving my own people. I'm going to make sure that they don't have water because I want a photo op. Amber Heard didn't come out and say, yeah, I threw a bottle at Johnny Depp and broke his finger and took a shit in his bed. No, they don't say, yeah, you know what? We don't care about the long-term ramifications of your child undergoing hormone replacement therapy or having a sex change where the attempted suicide rate actually gets worse after this. It's at least 42%. You know what? We're doing it for a political agenda, and we're going to try and take your kids away. No, they say, if you don't go on board with us, it's child abuse. It is projection. Yep. It is gaslighting. It's what they do.
Mm-hmm. Hamas's logo should literally be, instead of a hang glider, should be a lifeless Palestinian child being pulled from rubble, because that's what Hamas wants. Right. That is the actual photo op that they use to put out there in the world, and that's how they get their advantage. That's literally what they would rather.
It's a death cult. They don't value human life.
Watch Slider with Crowder live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.